Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Today we will be discussing and sharing Lord Nrsimhadev's pastimes, and we'll also be learning how to always remember Krishna and get protection of Krishna. So please join us for Mangalacharna prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiryet. Shavatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shamana Kirtanaha Hridayantasto Hya Bhadrani Vidhunoti Suhasatam Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatir Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavti Nashtiki. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So again, we all want to remember Lord Shri Krishna because by remembrance we get his protection. And Bhagavad Gita में भगवान बोलते भी हैं, भगवान कृष्ण अर्जुन क्या बताते हैं? मन मना भव मद भक्तो मध्याजी माम नमस्कुरु. So always think of me, right? That is always remember. And Smartavyo Satatam Vishnu Vismartavyo na Chatuchit. So again we will be looking at how we can remember Krishna. And so today we are starting. Who's the example who attained perfection just by remembering? Prahlad Maharaj. So we'll be starting by Prahlad Maharaj's prayers. And this prayer is very awesome. It's again just first two shlokas of the prayers we'll be covering today. And so please join us in the recitation of this verse. Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, chapter 18, verse 8. So Devi, can we place the link to 5th canto, chapter 18? Yes, we did. Hare Krishna.
Yes, I've shared.
Thank you. So we'll recite this verse and then we'll be diving into the lessons for today. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 18, verse 8. Om Namo Bhagavate Nrsimhaya Namaste Tejase Avirbhava Vajranaka Vajradamsha Karmashayan Randhaya Tamo Grasa Om Swaha Abhayam Atmani Bhuyeshta Om Shrom. Translation by His Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Lord Nrsimhadev, the source of all power. O my Lord, who possesses nails and teeth just like thunderbolts, kindly vanquish our demon-like desires for fruitive activity in this material world. Please appear in our hearts and drive away our ignorance, so that by your mercy we may become fearless in the struggle for existence in this material world. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Yes. Hari Bol, dear viewers. आज जीव तत्व प्रभु जी जो टॉक दे रहे हैं वो है लॉर्ड नरसिंहदेव और श्री प्रहलाद के पास टाइम्स पर. जैसे कि हम सब जानते हैं, कल हम ऑब्जर्व करने वाले हैं लॉर्ड नरसिंहदेव्स अपीयरेंस डे, और बहुत ही पॉपुलर पास टाइम है श्रीमद् भागवतम में. जीव तत्व प्रभु जी वो एंटायर पास टाइम का जो एसेंस है उसको ब्रीफ में आपके साथ आपके बेनिफिट के लिए प्रेजेंट कर रहे हैं. और प्रभु जी ने जैसे कि शेयर किया, ये जो वर्स है कैंटो 7 चैप्टर 18 वर्स नंबर 8, ये वर्स हमने अभी कमेंट्स में आपके रेफरेंस के लिए शेयर कर दी है. सो प्रभु जी प्लीज गो अहेड विद द क्लास. लेट मी पुट ऑन द माइक्रोफोन.
Krishna, please join us for Guru Pranati. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। मुखं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातदहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So again, in this particular chapter, means again in this particular verse, Srila Prabhupada, he writes his transcendental ecstasies are his purports. So we will cover the purport. And also how Prahlad Maharaj, again charity begins at home. So he is first praying to remove all impurities that are like demons in our heart. So when we recite this shloka, we meditate on the meaning, right? Earth Chintanam. We are meditating on the meaning of the shloka, where the focus is that there are various kinds of demon-like desires for fruitive activity, to enjoy in this material world. Sense gratification, right? That is what people are generally seeking. And these actually become the cause of all kind of miseries in this material world. Because the only difference is living entities in the material world have all these desires to enjoy and lord over this material universe, so they are engaged in sense gratification. While in spiritual world, jo bhi hai, means all the living entities, they are engaged in serving the Lord. So that's the main difference. So ऐसे में, this struggle for existence जो हम लोग इस समय देख रहे हैं पैंडेमिक के टाइम पे, और जिस तरह से एक वेव के बाद नेक्स्ट वेव, another wave. So we are like in an ocean, right? And one wave after another wave is hitting us, and we are somehow trying to stay afloat. But even better afloat, तैरने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं किसी तरह सरफेस पे. But even better than that is अगर हम लोग समुद्र में गोते खा रहे हैं, डुबकियाँ मार रहे हैं, और ऐसे में एक के बाद लहरें, दूसरी लहरें हमसे टकरा रही हैं और हम लोगों को पछाड़ने की कोशिश करी, और हम किसी तरह से उसमें स्ट्रगल कर रहे हैं. और समटाइम्स फ्रूटिव पीपल जो मटेरियलिस्ट माइंडसेट होते हैं, जिनको बस यही है कि अब देखो हमने ये भी वेव साली, हमने ये भी वेव साली, वो उस तरह से ग्लोरीफाई करते हैं टिल अ वेव कम्स एंड स्वीप्स देम अवे. तो ऐसे में हम लोग को बड़ा हम्बल रहना चाहिए. एंड इवन बेटर देन बीइंग इन द वेव्स ऑफ द ओशन, वी वांट टू बी पिक्ड अप फ्रॉम द ओशन, राइट? So that is where we want to be part of the Sankirtan Yajna, which is like a cruise ship going through this ocean of nations, this material ocean. And on a cruise ship, everyone is comfortable and everyone is engaging in Sankirtan Yajna. Everyone is chanting, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So, purport में श्रीला प्रभुपाद कहते हैं कि श्रीमद् भागवतम के 4th कैंटो 22वें चैप्टर में सनत कुमार ही स्पीक्स द फॉलोइंग वर्ड्स टू महाराज पृथु. महाराज पृथु को क्या बता रहे हैं? बता रहे हैं कि जो डिवोटीज होते हैं, जो भक्तगण होते हैं, वो हमेशा भगवान के जो टोज हैं, लोटस फीट हैं जो उनकी सर्विस में लगे रहते हैं, राइट? और ऐसे में जब वो सर्व कर रहे होते हैं भगवान के लोटस फीट को, तो वो ये जो हार्ड नॉट्स हैं, राइट, ऑफ डिजायर्स फॉर फ्रूटिव एक्टिविटीज, जो कि प्रहलाद महाराज बोला है, लाइक डीमंस, लाइक हिरण्यकशिपु, हमारे जो हृदय ग्रंथि, जो नॉट्स, ग्रंथि इज ऑल्सो लाइक नॉट्स, राइट? तो वही जो है ना, उसको ब्रेक करने के लिए वी हैव टू एंगेज इन सर्विंग द लॉर्डशिप. और जब हम भगवान के चरण कमलों में उनको प्लीज करने के लिए एक्टिविटीज करते हैं, तो ऑटोमेटिकली ये जो हृदय ग्रंथि होती है ये खुल जाती है. तो इस तरह से वी कैन ओवरकम द मटीरियल डिजायर्स, राइट? मटीरियल डिजायर्स क्या है? टू एंजॉय अस थ्रू सेंसेस, द वेरियस सेंस ऑब्जेक्ट्स. और दिस प्रोपेंसिटी, कोई भी एक्टिविटी करते हैं उससे जो हमें फल मिलता है, हम टू एंजॉय दैट फ्रूट इज कॉल्ड फ्रूटिव एक्टिविटी. सो अगेन द एक्टिविटी दैट पर्सन एंगेजेस, किसी भी ऐसे काम में जो है ना, क्रिया में कोई व्यक्ति अगर लगा हुआ है जिससे उसको कुछ फल मिल रहा है, और जब वो फल भगवान को अर्पण करने जाए, अपने लिए अपनी इंद्र तृप्तियों के लिए सेंस एंजॉयमेंट में एंगेज करना चाहता है, दैट इज व्हाट इज फ्रूटिव एक्टिविटी. लेकिन ये बहुत डिफिकल्ट है अगर one does not serve the lotus feet of the Lord. और इसीलिए जो नॉन डिवोटीज होते हैं ना, ज्ञानी होते हैं, ज्ञान योगी होते हैं, कर्म योगी होते हैं, वो इन वेव्स को, जो सेंस ग्रेटिफिकेशन है, जो डिजायर्स है, मटेरियल डिजायर्स टू एंजॉय दिस मटेरियल वर्ल्ड, इन वेव्स को कंट्रोल नहीं कर पाते हैं, राइट? इवन दो दे हैव द नॉलेज, इवन देन knowledge is not enough. You need to have a proper understanding. From the understanding and carrying out the activity, you get proper realization. So that is applied knowledge. That is the difference. Just knowledge is not enough. You have to apply that knowledge. अब आप जैसे घर में आपको कहीं बहुत ही अच्छे कहीं पे गए हैं और आपने देखे बहुत पकवान बने हुए हैं, तो अपने फ्रेंड से पूछते हैं कि माय डियर फ्रेंड, आप इसका रेसिपी बता सकते हैं? तो आपके फ्रेंड आपको रेसिपी देते हैं. तो ऐसे में आप वो रेसिपी देखते हैं, अरे वाह. तो आप घर में आते हैं, रेसिपी देखते हैं, जब भी आपका खाने का मन करता है, जैसे आपने भगवान के लिए, भोगा के लिए कुछ बनाने का सोचा, जैसे शाही पनीर बनाने का सोचा है या मलाई कोफ्ता बनाने का सोचा, अरे ऐसे में जब आपने देखा, अच्छा ये रेसिपी है भाई मलाई कोफ्ता की, बस ठीक है, आपको स्वाद आ गया, आपने भोगा लगा दिया? नहीं, क्योंकि आपके पास रेसिपी है उसका कि क्या इंग्रेडिएंट्स हैं, क्या कॉम्बिनेशन है, उसको कैसे बनाना है, कैसे कुक करना है, और भगवान के लिए सजा के जब ऑफ़र करते हैं, उसके बाद में भगवान जब को ऑफरिंग के बाद में जब हम भगवान से परमिशन लेते हैं, तो वो प्रसाद बन जाता है, महाप्रसाद, कृष्ण प्रसाद. तो फिर हम जब उसको ग्रहण करते हैं, तो वो हमारी मटेरियल बॉडी को ही नहीं, हमारी स्पिरिचुअल बॉडी को भी नरिश करता है. तो ऐसे में जस्ट हैविंग अ रेसिपी इज़ नॉट इनफ. यू हैव टू गेट द इंग्रेडिएंट्स, यू हैव टू मेक इट, एंड देन यू हैव टू offer it, and then when you taste it, then you get the taste of having tasted, the item that you had recipe of. So ऐसे में knowledge is not enough. You have to carry out the activities. But again, sometimes people say, oh, karmani avadhikaraste. We are karma yogis. We have the right, right to perform the duties. Yes, but they forget the second part, right? Sometimes. So again, karma yogis should remember that the second part is ma phaleshu kadachana. That one should not think themselves to be the cause of all the fruits, all the returns on investment, right? ROI का जैसे बात करते हैं बहुत ज़्यादा लोग, तो जो रिटर्न्स आ रहे हैं, जो आपको रिन्यूमरेशन या जो भी आपको बेनिफिट मिल रहा है उस एक्टिविटी के कारण, that should not be owned by one, but rather should be offered to the Lordship. And then प्रसाद समझ के ग्रहण करना चाहिए. This is what is the recommendation. तो ऐसे में जो ज्ञान योगी और कर्म योगी होते हैं ना, when they have not proper understanding, so कर्म योगी are engaged in mental speculation, and ज्ञान yogis are engaged in philosophical speculation. Even there is big difference, right? Karma yogi does not understand the shastra well at times, and then so mentally they are coming on their own ways of doing things, right? They derive various meanings out of the various rituals, various activities. And the Gyan Yogi, wo basically are looking at the philosophical aspect, and they're basically looking sometimes at the literary aspect. So again, this is where, when you follow parampara, why do we follow parampara? Because this knowledge is very contextual knowledge, and the language is also very contextual, right? कि context के हिसाब से meaning completely different हो जाता है. So unless we get a teacher who can explain it to us, we will not be able to understand. Just like when you go to seek, treatment from a doctor, you want to see a person who has, who has gone to proper college, who has done proper practice, and is a known doctor. You just don't go to a person who says that, okay, I have read all the medical books, you should just come to me. Because that knowledge may not be enough. He has knowledge, but he hasn't applied that knowledge, and he hasn't received the instructions from the teacher to properly utilize that knowledge for the benefit of humanity. तो ऐसे में हम लोगों को किस तरह से अप्लाई करना है ये बताया गया है. और सनत कुमार पृथु महाराज को, पृथु महाराज is an example of, by archanam, by worshipping the Lord, he attains perfection. So again, sometimes when पृथु महाराज का डिस्क्रिप्शन आता है, तो लोग बहुत ही इंटरेस्टिंगली सुनते हैं कि अरे उन्होंने तो 99 ही अश्वमेघ यज्ञ किए थे, जो 100 करने वाले थे बार बार इंद्र उनका घोड़ा चुरा के ले आता था. और फिर भगवान खुद आते हैं. Lord Brahma comes to tell Prithu Maharaj not to perform the 100th one. Lord himself, Lord Vishnu comes on Garuna and he says, I'm satisfied with you, don't perform the 100th one, because this Indra is getting very, insecure. He is fearing that you will take his throne. Prithu Maharaj had no intention. को कोई intention नहीं था कि इंद्र की गद्दी लें. He is a, Shakta Vishavta. So again, he was satisfied, but he attains perfection by not performing the 100th one, because he surrendered to the will of God. That is an important thing. He could have easily performed many more Ashwamedh Yajnas. तो ऐसे में, this is amazing. And then when we read this particular verse, here it is said that we become fearless by the mercy of the Lord. हमको fearlessness मिलती है in the struggle for existence. और कहाँ पे? इस भौतिक जगत में, in this material world. So, the non-devotees, they cannot be successful in their attempt to stop sense gratification. लेकिन जो devotees होते हैं, जब भगवान की भक्ति में उनको प्लीज करने के लिए लीन रहते हैं, तत्पर रहते हैं, तो ऐसे में they can continue to, overcome these waves of sense gratification, these desires. They're coming like waves, just like in an ocean. An ocean is stable, even though many rivers merge into the ocean. So these are like desires coming into our mind. But the devotees, they understand, yes, these desires are coming in, but if they are not dovetail in service of Krishna, they are completely useless. If they don't bring us closer to Krishna, they are completely useless. If they don't invoke our love for Krishna, if they don't bring us closer to Krishna, if they don't get us attracted to Lord Krishna, then they are useless. So they only work on those desires which are meant to please Lord Shri Krishna, anukulena Krishna, anushilenam, as Lord Krishna desires. So this is a very important instruction जो चतुर्कुमार देते हैं, पृथु महाराज को बोलते हैं. इसीलिए you should engage in devotional service. So again, they are advising Prithu Maharaj ke devotional service of Lord Krishna, the son of Vasudev, right? Vasudev Krishna. So he should be worshipped and the devotional service should be performed. इसी तरह से जो all living entities हैं इस material world में, they have a very strong desire, to enjoy matter. They all want to enjoy to the fullest satisfaction. But is it possible to enjoy your senses to the fullest satisfaction? No, it is not. So, for this purpose, जो conditioned soul होते हैं, to be able to enjoy, they need senses to enjoy the sense objects. So they have material bodies in this material world. एक के बाद एक, one after another. So they are caught in this Ferris wheel. They are sometimes going to the higher planetary systems, sometimes coming down. And so they are just caught up in this Jan Mitra Jara Vyadhi Dukha Doshara Darshanam. So even though they want to enjoy, all they get in the return is miseries after miseries. Birth, death, old age, disease, these are all various forms of miseries that come up. And so a conditioned soul, uski desire, they just continue, and one cannot stop this repetition of birth and death. जबकि शीला रूपा गोस्वामी इसीलिए हम लोग को इंस्ट्रक्ट करते हैं about pure devotional service. अन्याभिलाषिता शून्यम ज्ञान कर्मादि अनावृतम अनुकूलेना कृष्णा अनुशीलनम भक्तिरुत्तमा. So what should we do? हमें भगवान की भक्ति में, उनको प्रेम में, means with loving devotional service we should engage in. And in this way, without, again favorably, anukulena Krishna anushilanam, as Lord Krishna desires. Anushilanam is by following the previous acharyas, right, in disciplic succession. So again, we should be in disciplic succession, and by following the acharyas, which means by following their instructions, not by following their actions. So again, that is anukaran, following actions, imitating someone is anukaran. But we don't want to do anukaran, we want to take anusharan, right? We want to take, shelter of their instructions. By taking shelter of their instructions, we can follow it. So, this is pure devotional service when it is not covered by the monastic theory. It's not engaged in, one is not engaged in philosophical speculation or not engaged in mental speculation, the fruitive activities, right? So, unless one is completely free of the fruitive activities, material desires will be there, and those material desires will cause the ignorance, the darkness of ignorance, and in darkness one cannot see what is what, and will not be able to get out of the cycle of birth and death. So therefore we should always offer a praise to Lord Nrsmhadev. And who did Lord Nrsmhadev kill? Hiranyakashipu, the demon, right? Who was a personification of material desires. Hiranya means gold, and Kashipu means soft cushion or bed. So he was very much interested in collecting lot of wealth. So people who have these material desires, since Hiranyakashipu is said to be a personified material desire, so people who are engaged in fruitive activities, they want to collect lot of gold, lot of wealth, right? And then they want to enjoy their senses. And this material world, sense enjoyment are normally identified as sex desires. People have those desires to enjoy the senses. So Hiranyakashipu, he's a perfect representation of a materialistic life. So, and he was, a cause of disturbance to the topmost devotee Prahlad Maharaj, who was his own son, until Lord Nrsmhadev appears and destroys Hiranyakashipu. So similarly, in our heart, there may be many demon-like, Hiranyakashipu-like desires to enjoy this material world. So we should pray to Lord Nrsmhadev, who is seated in our heart, to please destroy all these fruity desires so that we can engage in devotional service just like Prahlad Maharaj did, and he prayed in this verse. And then again, charity begins at home. So पहले तो प्रहलाद महाराज अपने purification के लिए pray कर रहे हैं. उसके बाद में second verse में what is he saying? स्वस्ति अस्तु विश्वस्य खला प्रसीदताम् ध्यायन्तु भूतानि श्वमितो धिया मनश्च भद्रं भजताददोक्षजे आवेशतां नो मतिरप्यहेतुकी. May there be good fortune throughout the universe, right? That's what we are praying actually. At this pandemic times, we are all praying that let there be good fortune, let there not be any misery, let there not be any pandemic. So we learn from Prahlad Maharaj how he is praying. And may all envious persons be pacified. All envious persons who are creating all kind of conflicts, right? They be pacified. May all living entities become calm by practicing bhakti yoga. For by accepting devotional service, they will think of each other's welfare, right? Suhridam sarvadehinam. So again, so Lord is the best friend, well-wisher of everyone, so the devotee becomes best friend and well-wisher of everyone. Therefore, let us all engage in the service of the Supreme Transcendence, Lord Shri Krishna, and always remain absorbed in thought of Him. So here Prahlad Maharaj is praying that to be able to become free from all the kind of distressful conditions, we should all pray for the welfare of everyone, be friends to all, so that everyone is engaged in bhakti yoga and thus take to devotional service. Hare Krishna. So again, so today, once again, as we are understanding how to always remember Krishna, so he is saying that by remembering the Supreme Transcendence, we can always be absorbed in thought of Him, in name, form, activities, pastimes of Lord Shri Krishna. So this is a very important aspect. And it reminds me of there is fear everywhere. So once we were, outside Patel Brothers store that we have in Shady Grove area. So again, there हम लोग book distribution के लिए बहुत सी बार books और racks वगैरह set up करते हैं. So after the proprietor said yes, it's fine, we would set up the table, right, with all the books and everything. And one day, we had Srimad Bhagavatam set also there, and there were Bhagavad Gitas, Easy Journey to Other Planets and so forth. Sometimes people are very much interested. How do I go to the heavenly planets? So they say, oh, this is very easy. Such a thin book, right? Sometimes they look at Bhagavad Gita, and just by looking at the mere size, they get afraid. Bhagavad Gita, oh, this is a thick book. But Easy Journey to the Planets is a very thin book. So they say, oh, this is something I can read. So again, Srila Prabhupada wrote this book so that, we can understand the purpose of life. And sometimes people take steps, so they want to take that step. So we would give, we were, enabling others to take an opportunity to read about Bhakti Yoga. And so, many people came, and of course, before starting, we always pray to Lord Nityananda Mahaprabhu, right? Again, Nityananda Prabhu is Adi Guru, Lord Balaram. And so he, by his own example, teaches us how to serve Lord Krishna or Lord Gauranga. So we pray to him in a humble mood with gratitude that may, dear Lord, enable us to be an instrument in his service. So that way, it was a very nice, book distribution going on. People were coming in, they were taking Bhagavad Gitas and many books. Yet Srimad Bhagavatam was just sitting on a side, and I was thinking that Srimad Bhagavatam is there, literary incarnation of Lord Shri Krishna is here, and then जो लोग हैं, they are always picking up other books. Will there be a lucky person who will pick up Srimad Bhagavatam? तो ऐसे में हम लोग, काफ़ी टाइम हो गया था, रात हो रही थी, so we started wrapping up. At that time, there was an elderly gentleman, he came, and उन्होंने जो काफ़ी, फादर के एज के करीब के थे हमारे, तो वो आए और बोलते हैं कि बेटा, is there something that you have जो को पढ़ के, because I'm very fearful. I'm very fearful of death, because I have seen people who are like my friends, and my elder brothers and others, I've seen them die. So it's making me very fearful. Is there something that you can share? And it was so strange that I happened to have, Srimad Bhagavatam right there. So I immediately said, yes, Srimad Bhagavatam, literary incarnation of Lord Shri Krishna. If you read this. And he was so surprised. He said, you have Srimad Bhagavatam? And he said, oh, so how many books? So again, 12 cantos. It's complete Srimad Bhagavatam set. He was so surprised to see, first of all. He wasn't expecting that Srimad Bhagavatam could be in the Western world so easily available. And just on the occasion when he's asking. And then we read part of 7th canto, Prahlad Maharaj's pastime, Lord Nrsimhadev's pastime, as how Hiranyakashipu, he was so powerful. Right? That after he became envious of the Lord, his son, Prahlad Maharaj, a great devotee, who was giving him good instruction, he did not take to those instructions. Rather, he wanted to kill his own son. And at that time, he could not even kill his own son, so he became fearful of his own death. Even though he had a bone that he will not die in day or in night, right? Outside the home or inside the home, with astra or shastra, so that kind of weapons that are thrown or that are held in hands when one fights with them. So and not in the air, not on the ground, not in the water. So all these combinations were there. He was thinking that he is now invincible, but even there he was fearful. He knew that he has such a strong bone, but at the same time he could understand that Prahlad, who did not ask for any such bone, all his soldiers have tried, even his sister tried. Nobody is able to kill Prahlad. Nobody is able to even put a scratch on Prahlad's body. So he says to Prahlad, where do you get all this strength? How have you received this power? He never saw Prahlad, worshipping any personality to get any boon. And Prahlad says very simply, my dear father, my source is the same as yours. We are all getting the energy, means all the potencies are coming by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he said, where is Vishnu, so Lord Vishnu? So Prahlad says, he's everywhere. Then Hiranyakashipu thinking, oh, this is a child, again I will prove him wrong. He said, is he in the pillar? And Prahlad says, yes, he's in the pillar. So now Hiranyakashipu was really filled with anger. So he, picks up his sword, ready to kill Prahlad, and just he was walking to Prahlad, he, he jabs onto the pillar in anger that now Prahlad, I'm going to kill you, means that intention. Yet at the same time, what happened? Tumultuous sound appears, and Lord Nrsimhadev, he appears from the pillar. Now Hiranyakashipu, he was always looking for Lord Vishnu, and he immediately understands. First he is shocked, right? And even the demigods were thinking that the three worlds have come to an end. The sound was so uproarious, and when the Lord roared in his Nrsimhadev, the half lion, half man form, Hiranyakashipu first of all was astonished and shocked, but then he understood that, oh, I have taken a boon that I will not be killed by an animal or man. So this is a combination of both, and he has appeared, but he was always seeking in anger. He was thinking of Lord. So that is pratikul, right? but we should always be anukul. So he immediately picked up his sword and shield and he attacked Lord Nrsimhadev. They both fought. It is said that when Hiranyakashipu, attacked Lord Nrsimhadev, it was as if a moth is going into the fire. He was not even visible because of the effulgence coming from the Lord's body. So, and finally he was killed by Lord Nrsimhadev. And at that time, Prahlad Maharaj, he was witnessing it all. And all the demigods, they came and they were praying to the Lordship. And at that time, Prahlad Maharaj was simply, so again, as we were reading this gentleman was getting such a assurance, and he says, is there something that clearly says one will get, shelter in this material world, become fearless in this existence in the struggle for existence. So at that time, we picked up this verse, Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, chapter 18, verse 8, where it ends with that, please appear in our hearts and drive away our ignorance so that by your mercy we may become fearless in the struggle for existence in this material world. And when he read this, he felt assurance. He immediately took up, he wanted that Srimad Bhagavatam. So again, a very fortunate, blessed soul who was able to take on Srimad Bhagavatam, literary incarnation of Lord Shri Krishna. So again, this is where you never know, how you can get various blessings. So while doing this distribution, it was so nice to see that a person was genuine in their attempt, seeking the proper shelter. Otherwise, it is said that, all the Jnanis and Yogis, they also get vanquished. The materialists definitely get vanquished. What does vanquish mean? That one is constantly caught in the cycle of birth, death, old age, disease, stays in this material world. But a devotee is never vanquished, right? Kante pratijani name bhakta pranashati. Now this particular verse is sometimes misquoted a lot as well, yes. But it is very important that when one is engaged in devotional service, pure devotional service, then there is no reason for one to be vanquished, because as soon as one loses the material body, one gets spiritual body and goes back home and continues to serve. One doesn't want wealth, yet at the same time, ultimately gets it. One doesn't want to go back home, only wants to serve the Lord. But Lord is so merciful that He calls such a soul close to Him, where he can constantly serve without having to face any miseries. So that is the causeless mercy of the Lordship. And that's why Srila Prabhupada, he said that when we perform devotional service, then it should not be adulterated. It should be unadulterated devotional service. He also liked another one, unalloyed devotional service, right? So alloy means there is a mixture, but unalloyed means 100% pure. So with that devotional service, one should not ask for a better life, because even though one will automatically get better life in due course of time, but one should not desire for that. One should only desire to please Lord Shri Krishna. One should not desire for wealth or very comfortable homes and very comfortable, company. Rather, one should be seeking to serve Lord Shri Krishna, and everything becomes favorable. So again, Lord Nrsimhadev, when he killed Hiranyakashipu, at that time, various planetary systems, those residents came and they were singing praise to Lord Nrsimhadev. But Nrsimhadev was showing his anger, and then at that time, Lord Brahma approached Lakshmi ji. He said, please try to pacify. Lord appears to be very angry. So ऐसे में बहुत क्रोधित है, मीन्स ज्वालामुखी की तरह बिल्कुल क्रोध में है. तो लक्ष्मी जी, even she says, मैंने ऐसा अद्भुत रूप उनका देखा नहीं है. She is not feeling comfortable coming to the Lordship. तो ऐसे में Lord Brahma, who does he approach? He approaches Prahlad Maharaj. He says, my dear son Prahlad, जो जरा से हैं, right? He's just about 7 years old, 5 years old, yeah. So he, Lord Brahma उनसे बोलते हैं कि please, आपके फादर से नरसिम्हदेव बहुत गुस्सा है, क्रोधित है. So please try to pacify him. So now Prahlad Maharaj makes an attempt. He goes to Lord Nrsimha. First he is saying that I have no qualification. Such exalted personalities like Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, right? The Gandharvas, the Siddha, the Siddhas, and even Pitralokas and so many places, these great personalities have come and prayed to you. Who am I? I'm actually a, one who's born in a demoniac, family. It's because his father was a demon. So he is one of the Daityas. Daityas means son of Diti. Adityas means son of Aditi. So those are descendants of Aditi, like Indra, Vivaswan, and so forth. So here he is saying that I have no qualification. So first of all, he is teaching us that when we approach the Lord, even though somebody very important may ask us to approach the Lord, we should not become very proud, because that pride cometh before fall. So in a humble mood, Tranadapi sunichena tarorapi saishtuna amanina manadena kirtene asadhari. So when we want to constantly chant, constantly engage in devotional service, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is giving us the instruction that we should think ourselves to be more humble than the grass on the street, Tranadapi sunichena, and more tolerant than the tree, tarorapi saishtuna, more sahanshil, more tolerant than the tree. Because vriksh is another name for trees in Sanskrit. Vriksh, the meaning of vriksh is what is meant to be cut down. But a tree never, protests. Or a grass, when you trample on the grass, then grass never protests, it stays humble. So, and amanina, not expecting respect from others, but ready to give all respect to others. Manadena, kirtaniya sada. In this humble state of mind and in this tolerant mood, we can chant the glories of the Lordship constantly, eternally. So he's approaching with that mood, and his prayers are saying, before even starting his prayers, he's saying, my dear Lord, I'm not afraid of your nails or your teeth which are like thunderbolts. I'm not afraid of your mane which is smeared with blood, right? Because when Lord Nrsimhadev, he split open the stomach of Hiranyakashipu, all blood came on his mane, on the hair around the face. And he's saying, I'm not afraid of your garland which is made up of intestines. So Lord Nrsimhadev actually put the intestines of Hiranyakashipu around his neck as garland. So SMA, he's like saying, I'm not afraid of you, because I'm so surrendered to you. And Srila Prabhupada अपने purport में बहुत ही प्यारा description देते हैं. He says that just like everyone, all animals are afraid of a lion, but a cub, right? A baby lion, a cub is not afraid of lion because he knows that he's taking shelter. He's the baby of lion. So again, a baby is not afraid of its parents. And similarly, another बहुत ही प्यारा example देते हैं शिला प्रभुपाद कि जैसे all kind of beings on the land, animals, man, everyone is afraid of the ocean because the ocean is deep and can drown you. But a small fish is in the ocean is not afraid of it. Why? Because it has taken shelter of the ocean. So in this way, Prahlad Maharaj has already taken shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, so how can he be afraid? He's completely fearless because he has taken shelter of the Supreme, at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So इस तरह से वो जो प्रे कर रहे हैं, he is singing, and then when he asks, Nrsimhadev बोलते हैं, you should ask for something. He is saying that this is not a trade. I'm not a mercantile man. I'm not a vyapari. I'm not a trader. That for my devotional service, I would like to expect some returns. Now, sometimes this is where even the worship is in three modes, right? So, in the mode of ignorance, one does not know how to worship. So, they don't follow the rules and regulations properly. And they do just the opposite. But in the mode of passion, people are saying, I'm offering this so that I get so much more, right? And in the mode of goodness, one worships only to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he's saying that my worship, my devotion to you, my service to you is not for an exchange. It is my love. It's a reflection of love. You can never repay love, right? But you can win over the Lord by your love. So that is the glorious, of devotional service. So, and then when Nrsimhadev, he says, Prahlad, you should ask for something. Then he says that, my dear Lord, I know that my father, he was saying very abominable things for you. So at that time, he committed great offense, great sins were being performed by him. So please forgive all that. And then Lord Nrsimhadev smiles and he says, Prahlad, as soon as I touched your father, he was completely purified. So, and then he further wants Prahlad, Lord Nrsimhadev further wants Prahlad to ask for something. What is Prahlad Maharaj asking? That I don't care anything for myself, my dear Lord. In whatever state I will be, if I have remembrance of you, I will be secured. He's actually asking that please, I am worried. I do care about all these foolish people who are engaged in this materialistic endeavors, trying to enjoy this material world. I'm more worried about them. So please bless them with your causeless mercy. Bless them so that they take to devotional service and they can go back home. And Lord is still like, Prahlad, now also you have only asked for others. You should still ask something for you. So again, Prahlad Maharaj, understanding what Lord's desire, he says, my dear Lord, for me, I only ask that I may get the shelter, I may get to serve the lotus feet of my spiritual master, Devashi Narad, who has given me this instruction, who has shown me the path to come to you. And he is seeking the association of Vaishnavas, of spiritual masters and, the senior Vaishnavas. So this is what we should be constantly seeking. Shelter of senior Vaishnavas, shelter of spiritual master, so that we can serve them. And by serving them, they reveal Lord to us. And we can take proper shelter by serving the Lordship as well. So here we have been reading about some amazing pastime of Lord Nrsimhadev killing Hiranyakashipu and saving Prahlad Maharaj. And we learn from Prahlad Maharaj how to remember Krishna constantly, eternally. So again, and there is something I wanted to share today, is to always remember, of course, we should know how to do pranam. Pranam is very important. So again, as we understand, Lord Nrsimhadev, who is a half lion, Nrsimha. So again, Nar is half human, Simha is half lion. So half man, half lion incarnation of Lord Shri Krishna. And he appeared to protect his young devotee, Prahlad Maharaj, right? From whom? From his envious and atheistic father, demoniac father, Hiranyakashipu. So, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is actually a verse, Devi, if you can share, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, chapter 8, the 5th verse is where Shri Nrsimha Pranam is given. And we will recite, normally there is a trend that we recite it continuously 3 times, but I'll just say it once and then we can all recite it 3 times. So the verse goes as Shri Nrsimha Jaya Nrsimha Jaya Jaya Nrsimha Prahladesha Jaya Padma Mukha Padma Bhringa. Right? What is the translation? The translation is all glories to Lord Nrsimhadev. All glories to Lord Nrsimhadev, who is the Lord of Prahlad Maharaj. And like the honeybee is always engaged in beholding the lotus-like face of the goddess of fortune. So this is in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, chapter 8, verse 5. So Devi, if you can put the link so that we can all recite it together. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, chapter 8, verse 5.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Please go ahead.
So please recite with me and we'll recite it continuously 3 times. Shri Nrsimha Jaya Nrsimha Jaya Jaya Nrsimha Prahladesha Jaya Padma Mukha Padma Bhringa. Shri Nrsimha Jaya Nrsimha Jaya Jaya Nrsimha Prahladesha Jaya Padma Mukha Padma Bhringa. Shri Nrsimha Jaya Nrsimha Jaya Jaya Nrsimha Prahladesha Jaya Padma Mukha Padma Bhringa. Nrsimhadev Bhagwan ki jai. So again, we do Nrsimhadev Aarti all the time. And then sometimes people ask like, okay, we do the Aarti, what is the meaning of this Aarti? So in Nrsimhadev Aarti, we are of course starting with Namaste, right? Namaste Nrsimhaya Prahlad Lade Daine Hiranyakashipurvakshaha Shilatankanakalaye. Translation: I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, Lord Nrsimhadev. You are the giver of pleasure to Maharaj Prahlad, and your nails cut the chest of Hiranyakashipu like a chisel cutting stone, right? So just like a sculptor, he cuts the stone through chisel. Similarly, Lord's nails are so strong, like so sharp that they pierce through the chest of Hiranyakashipu. Let's just Namaste Nrsimhaya, Namaste Nrsimhaya, Prahlad Lad Daine, Prahlad Lad Daine, Hiranyakashipurvakshaha, Hiranyakashipurvakshaha Shilatankanakalaye, Shilatankanakalaye. Ito Nrsimho parato Nrsimho, Ito Nrsimho parato Nrsimho. Yato yato yami tato Nrsimha, Yato yato yami tato Nrsimha, Bahe Nrsimha hridaye Nrsimha, Bahe Nrsimha hridaye Nrsimha. Nrsmhadev sharanam prapadyay, Nrsmhadev sharanam prapadyay. Translation: Lord Nrsimhadev is here and he is also there. Ito Nrsimha, Parato Nrsimha. He is here and he is also there. On the opposite side, wherever I go, there I see Lord Nrsimha. Yata yata yami tato Nrsimha. So wherever I go, I see Lord Nrsimhadev. He is outside, right? Bahir Nrsimha, Hridaye Nrsimha. And he is also within my heart. Therefore, I take shelter of Lord Nrsimhadev. Nrsimhadev sharanam prapadya. So I take shelter of Lord Nrsimhadev, the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. So again, Lord Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Nrsimhadev is his incarnation. Now, the last verse, the last part is taken from Srila Jadev Goswami. He was in, one of the acharyas in the 13th century. From his Dashavtar, song, from that it has taken. Tav kar kamalavare nakam adbhuta shingham dalita hiranyakashipu tano bhringam keshavadita narhari rupa jai jagadish hare Jaya Jagadish Hare, Jaya Jagadish Hare. Translation: O my Lord, your hands are very beautiful, like the lotus flower, but with your long nails you have ripped apart the wasp, Hiranyakashipu. Unto you, Lord of the universe, I offer my humble obeisance. Hare Krishna. So again, we just wanted to make sure that people get an opportunity to understand that the Nrsimhadev Arti is taking shelter and seeking protection from Lord Nrsimhadev. And in these times, by engaging in devotional service, we can become fearless and we can always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna, and thus we will get the protection of Lord Shri Krishna, as we learn from the very example of Prahlad Maharaj. a Mahajana, a great Vaishnava. Mahajana yena gata pantha. So we follow the footsteps of Mahajana because that is in our favor, that is for our benefit. And so hopefully you will get an opportunity to immerse yourself by remembering of Lord Nrsmhadev, by remembering the pastime as how he saved his dear devotee Prahlad Maharaj, who was so humble, so sober and so exalted. Hare Krishna. So this is where we would like to end the session today. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Bhagavad ki jai, Anand Kori Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Devi would be welcoming you all. Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्णा डियर व्यूअर्स. सो आज जीव तत्व प्रभु जी ने जो ये सेशन दिया है लॉर्ड नरसिंहदेव अपीयरेंस का पास टाइम, इससे हम क्लोजली रिलेट कर सकते हैं, रिफ्लेक्ट कर सकते हैं हाउ वी कैन एंगेज इन डिवोशनल सर्विस with humility, always giving respect to others, with a mood of gratitude and surrendering in a mood, in a prayerful mood at the lotus feet of Bhagwan. And in this way, we can automatically get the protection and we can fearlessly always engage in transcendental living devotional service. आप में से जितने भी व्यूअर्स ने आज हमारे साथ पार्टिसिपेट किया है इस स्पेशल श्रीमद् भागवतम क्लास में, आप सभी का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. वरुण छाबरा जी, मोनिका ग्रोवर जी, निधि गुप्ता जी, अनु गर्ग जी, गीता देशा जी, पूजा जी और बहुत सारे व्यूअर्स जिनके नाम स्क्रॉल कर गए, करुणा सिंधु प्रभु जी, जयेश जी, विशाल जी, तपस जी, समीर जी, रजनीश जी, मोहताब जी, सौरभ जी, कोली जी, चंदू जी, रीता मोहन जी, रवि चौहान जी और अंजलि सराफ जी. हरे कृष्णा. सभी का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद प्रभु जी. सो वी एंड द सेशन हियर.
Yes. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Bhagavad ki jai, Anant Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Go Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्णा.